Tommy, it's incredible how many people who achieve what you've achieved have a similar starting point. I hearken back to I graduated from college and I was aspirational working in baseball, but I honestly had no idea what the jobs were, none whatsoever. I didn't even know what I was applying for, but I just sent out resumes to all 30 baseball teams. I got formally rejected by four, no responses from the other 26, and I was ecstatic. And like so many of us, I keep the rejection letters. And one was, just to date myself, one was from a franchise called the Montreal Expos, which doesn't even exist anymore. Their president, named Claude Brochu, who probably had somebody in their office stamp his name on it, had formally rejected me, but it was a very cordially written letter. I then ended up going to graduate school and got my first job working on the business side for the Dodgers, aspirational of maybe if I put in my time, I could jump over to the baseball side. And then all of a sudden things kind of fell apart there and another door opened and I got a chance to join the Colorado Rockies as a baseball employee. But it just speaks to the good fortune all of us had. But the common theme is when you're given an opportunity, you just make the most of it. And I think that's one of the themes you've had in your career. You talk openly about the fact that there's no job too small and that you have to have this mindset of always going the extra mile. Can you talk a little bit about that? How did that work ethic get instilled in you when you were a younger man?
Well, I was one of seven. When you're the youngest of seven, you are basically on every single job seeing that happens in the household. You're going shopping with your mother. You're doing stuff on the weekends with your father. All your brothers and sisters have to chip in. It was manual labor at its finest. And so you learn to be a good teammate. And I think you learn to see that a lot of things that start out looking like they're really, really nasty jobs that nobody wants, those are the ones that you learn the most. And there's not a lot of competition for those jobs, but people are watching everything that you do. And they watch how much you care about how this is going to look because I touched it, because I'm part of this crew right here. Do you want it to be something that people say you did a good job, no matter what it was, and they recognize it? Or do you just want to say, man, I'm just clocking in the time. I'm just trying to pass the time. Let's get this done. You learn those lessons young. And then as for me, when I applied in sports, I think everybody knows that there's several doors on a house. You don't just always get to come in the front door. There's side doors and back doors. Sometimes there's windows you got to climb through. But if you're willing to put in the dues, and there is an S on the end of dues, if you're willing to put that time in, I think people recognize the qualities of a great teammate, and they apply across the board. So if you show you can do something and you're responsible in one area, you might get a chance to do something maybe a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. If you're patient enough, I think there's always that opportunity afforded. I kind of have to, you sit back sometimes and somebody sees an opportunity and you go, that's a great opportunity. And they go, no, it's a terrible opportunity. So you try to see it from both sides of what makes it bad. And well, it's going to be a lot of work. And that's where you just start laughing. Like that's what you're supposed to do. And the greater the challenge, the greater the victory. And I always believe that. I know in baseball, I can't even imagine the world that you're in. And there's twice the schedule that we have and how much goes into putting all that together. But it started with, like you said, you start out on the business side. You start to, people see you in a different light when they're working with you. And they see the attention to detail, no job too big or too small. I think that resonates with people in hiring positions. They see somebody that says, hey, you're looking for self-awareness. You're looking for humility. You're looking for great teammates. That's really what is going to promote you in this business. Not there's a ton of smart people. So if it was just up to smarts, you got a million people to choose from. How many of those people are great teammates? How many of those people are willing to do whatever it takes? How many people will run down when they see the equipment guys got their hands full? It's pouring rain. We got a plane to catch. How many guys are going to get off the bus, go down there and load that truck up? You do it because it helps everybody. If you don't do it, I'm sorry, you're not a good teammate.
And Tommy, I think you're talking about there's so many people who can connect to people's minds because they're so bright, they're so intelligent, but can you connect to somebody's heart? Because if you do, you have them for life. And there's a bond there that is unbreakable. And I had somebody tell me early in my career, and this was great advice I thought I received, which was, they said, what's an amount of money you can't possibly ever envision making? And I just threw out $1 million. And they said, okay, treat every task you do as if you're getting paid $1 million to do it, and treat everybody who does that task as somebody who's getting paid $1 million to do it. And so I think that the unwritten thought was like, no task is too small. Take every task extremely seriously. And if you do, it will add up. But also treat everybody who is that equipment guy, who is standing in the rain, who is, moving the equipment from the truck to the train to the plane. Treat them as if they're making $1 million. Treat them with that level of respect. Every job that is being done deserves your utmost respect. And if you do that, everyone feels like they're part of something magical and special rather than just a functionary role along the way that is nameless and faceless. And as you know, from sitting in the most elite seat as a president of basketball operations for so long, it is really tough to connect with everybody in the organization unless you're singularly focused and dedicated to doing that. And so I think those that do have these exceptional careers, and that has so much more than just the wins and losses, right? It's the connections to the humans along the way, but it starts with treating them and the tasks they do with the respect that they deserve, because there's no such thing as a small part of a championship organization. Everybody is a meaningful part if you achieve a championship caliber run in professional sports today.
Oh, there's no question. I think some of the most valuable time I spent starting out my career when I was with the Nuggets was, going from sports information, but I would literally go into every office, and stats were a lot smaller back then, but I'd spend quite a bit of time with the ticket people. What are your challenges? How do you sell tickets? You talk to the corporate sales people, you talk to community relations, you go around, because I figured, you know what, I really need to know what makes these people's jobs difficult, what makes them great, and how can I help them do their jobs, and how can we all help each other? And if you don't really have an idea of what their job is and how they do it and what their challenges are, you always just assume, well, the ticket guys can figure this out, or well, let's kick the problem down the hall. You can't do that in sports. It's a family. If you really want to be a success, everybody has to lean into each other. And I know this isn't necessarily your job description, but I need your help. And I always think that that's something that's so critical in sports, because hey, if you're just going to be showing up on the good days and the wins, you're not going to show up very often in sports, because there's often winning is very difficult. It's very rare on a sustainability and being night in, night out. Most teams will tell you that's really, really hard. And the ones that do it great, you got to observe their culture, and you see some things just show up time and time again. How much trust everybody has for each other, how much humility and self-awareness you have for your job. And certainly the quality of character that you have in your building is going to have as much to do with the success as the talent of the players.